through their lens. Now through October 31st, submit your best agriculture-related photos online at the Delaware Farm Bureau website. Winners will be announced in December at the annual banquet. For more information, go to the community calendar under the Extras tab at thetalkofdelmarva.com.
Broadcasting from our Care Center studio. Your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
You're listening to your News Talk America, your home for freedom, liberty, and of course, the truth. Coming up after the news at the top of the hour, we will transition into our digital interactive format. As I sit behind the golden microphone, you will be able to watch me do the program this morning. You'll be able to watch our guests, our panelists, and interact with them on Mukana. If you haven't signed on to Mukana, what are you waiting for? You get the opportunity to produce this program. Why should I get all the fun? Now, I did want to go through the chat room, and there are some very interesting comments in the chat room. And I wanted to mention one of our producers, Wolf, talked about the fact that President Trump should appoint Elon Musk as a very special inspector general. You know, I think based on the fact that the country's very future rests with getting this deficit under control, it is very much like a wartime effort. And I think that that is what President Trump, if he is reelected and goes back to the White House, that's what Elon Musk will be saddled with doing. Now, let me just get this here. I'm just going to go up. Okay, here it is. Our producer Wolf says, and it's a great point, Wolf. Thank you for putting this this comment in the chat. I'm glad I could get to it. Elon Musk should be presidentially appointed to Chief Inspector General with sweeping anti-corruption powers. Again, I just think that this is going to be a wartime effort, and that war is being waged, as you know, by the bureaucracy, the Washington swamp, the source of all our pain and agony. That war, they're waging that war against us, and this is how we're going to fight back if we get the opportunity to do so. So good points, Wolf. And, you know, I remember back in the 1970s, there was an anti-corruption effort coming from Albany in New York State when I lived in New York. And it was the Najari. Maurice Najari was a special prosecutor appointed by a governor, Governor Wilson, who succeeded Nelson Rockefeller because Rockefeller had become vice president under Gerald Ford. So Maurice Najari, the guy was incredible. Man, he was weeding out this New York corruption. And as soon as the Demcoms regained control of the State House in Albany, and a very corrupt governor, real stinker by the name of Hugh Carey, was elected, the Najari Commission was dismantled. And that is something that we need to do at the federal level. So there you go. Wolf also comments that Gibbon's Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire is a classic. I have to admit, I'd never read it, but of course familiar with some of the reasons why the Roman Empire collapsed. And let me also say this. You know, we talked about a parent earlier that allowed their son.
92.7 WGMD Rehoboth Beach and 98.5 WUSX Seaford, the talk of Delmarva.
A boy and his father in court in Georgia. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, both in separate charges and separate hearings in Wednesday's shooting at Appalachia High School. Left 2 students and 2 teachers dead.
You're currently charged with 2 counts of felony murder in the 2nd degree.
The judge reading the counts to Colin Gray, who was looking down, rocking nervously back and forth in his chair. His son is the accused gunman.
You're charged with 4 counts of felony involuntary manslaughter. You're charged with 8 counts of felony cruelty to children in the 2nd degree.
Gray, who bought the gun as a gift for his son, then shuffled out of the court in chains. About 15 minutes after his son, Colt Gray, was told by that same judge,
I wanted to inform you and make it clear to you that the penalty for the crimes for which you are charged does not include death.
The 14-year-old is charged with 4 counts of felony murder. Later today, there will be a memorial service for the victims in Winder, Georgia. Former President Trump's in an appeals court right now in New York trying to get a civil judgment overturned that ordered the former president to pay author E. Jean Carroll millions of dollars for defaming her when denying Carroll's claims Trump sexually abused her decades ago. 2 months before the election, the first early voting ballots are supposed to be mailed out in North Carolina today, but there is a snag. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is continuing to fight to get his name off those ballots after he dropped his independent run and endorsed former President Trump.
The State Board of Elections basically told all counties in the state to not mail these out after a judge ordered a 24-hour stay to allow RFK Jr. to appeal her decision to have his name stay on the ballot. So why is it staying on the ballot? The argument here is that reprinting thousands and thousands of ballots would eat into early voting time.
Fox's Aisha Hosni in Charlotte. There was more hiring last month, 142,000 jobs created, less than expected, but more than July. America's listening to Fox News.
Hey guys, Donald Trump Jr. here. Let me ask you this. Does inflation feel worse than what we're being told in the news? That's because the official inflation rate doesn't tell the whole story. Since January 2021, the cost of living has increased by 17.9%. You can't get that money back. But what you can do is stop your losses today. How? By diversifying your savings into a gold IRA from my friends at Birch Gold Group. When you're done, your money will be parked in a tangible asset with a proven history. To see how it works, get your free info kit on gold IRAs by texting the word PROTECT to 989898. I trust Birch Gold. They provide an easy process to roll over your 401k or IRA into gold without losing your tax advantaged status. So text PROTECT to 989898. That's PROTECT to the number 989898 to get your free info kit on gold IRAs from Birch Gold.
Message. Delmarva's home for local news, 92.7 and 98.5 WGMD, the talk of Delmarva.
The news is brought to you by Little Living in Frankfort, Delaware. Affordable, turnkey, fully furnished little homes. Visit yourlittleliving.com.
I'm Bill Robbins in the Talk of Delmarva newsroom. A man from Bridgeville arrested in a case of aggravated menacing. It happened in Seaford. Police say the 42-year-old victim was involved in an argument on Milford Road with a man identified as Jacob Shade. During the argument, Shade pulled a gun and pressed it against the victim's chest. The victim was not hurt. Shade was arrested and taken to Troop 5 and charged with possession of a firearm during commission of a felony and aggravated menacing. Both are felony charges. Shade was arraigned and is being held at SCI on $25,000 cash bond. Delaware State Police have arrested a 33-year-old man from Greenwood on several gun and drug-related charges during a traffic stop in Bridgeville. Officers pulled him over at around 10:30 Tuesday morning. He was heading north on Coverdale Road near Mill Park Drive. They pulled him over for a registration violation. After he exited the Jeep, the troops saw the handle of a gun sticking from under the driver's seat. Akeem Frazier was arrested, and during a search, troopers found heroin, crack cocaine, powder cocaine, drug paraphernalia, and a loaded .45 caliber handgun. Frazier faces several charges and is being held at SCI on over $50,000 cash bond. Salisbury police officers investigating an incident of shots fired. It happened at approximately 12:20 Wednesday afternoon in the area of Jackson Street and East Vine Street. No injuries were reported. Anyone with information should contact the Salisbury Police Department or Crime Solvers. The Delaware Office of Highway Safety, Delaware State Police, and local law enforcement are joining up for a DUI checkpoint this Friday evening somewhere in the Milford area. No word on exactly when or where. They'll be looking for signs of impairment and other traffic violations. This is the first DUI checkpoint in Delaware since 29 when they were put off because of COVID. Police say the checkpoints are an effective tool to make drivers think twice before having one more for the road. For more on these and other stories, visit talkofdelmarva.com.
The next big idea is little. Do you need Need a place to live? Housing prices got you down? Here is your solution. Turnkey, fully furnished from $65,999. Perfect for a guest house, in-law suite, office, gym, vacation rentals, and more. Come and see for yourself. 35151 Roxana Road, Frankfort, Delaware. Call for an appointment 302-272-1534 or visit yourlittleliving.com for more information. You dream it and we'll create it.
Listen up, Delmarva anglers. The Talk Delmarva Fishing Report.
Brought to you by Complete Tree Care, licensed and insured. Request an estimate at CompleteTreeCareDE.com.
It's time for the Talk Delmarva Fishing Report with Eric Burnley.
I think the wind blew harder on Thursday than it has all week. Patty at Captain Bones in Odessa recorded a new Delaware state record snakehead caught by Michael Gardner and weighing 12.95 pounds. The big fish hit a chatterbait in the Appoquinimix River. The fishing from the Woodland Beach Steep Pier still produced croaker, white perch, and catfish. Bloodworms, fish bites, and peeler crab will work on the croaker and perch, while the cats like a nice juicy hunk of cut bunker. Steve at Smith Bait in Lipsick said the jetty at Bowers Beach saw some spot and croaker on bloodworms and peeler crab. Breakwater tackle on the fishing pier at Cape Henlopen State Park said it was not the best day for pier fishing due to the high east wind. Still, some spot and croaker were caught on bloodworms and fish bites. This is Eric Burnley with your Talk of Delmarva Fishing Report.
Broadcasting from the Meineke Car Care Center studio. It's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
And welcome to our digital interactive broadcast here on your News Talk America. It's Friday. It's great to be seen as I sit behind the golden microphone here on your News Talk America. Got a very interesting program in store for you today. Some panelists that I think that you'll be very much interested in hearing what they have to say. My friends, there's no question, and I was very surprised on Labor Day when we opened Mukana up, and the number of comments and questions related to the future of America's energy program, energy policy, took center stage. And I'm going to keep on that topic because as we get closer and closer to our election on November 5th, I know today in many parts of the country, people will be able to early vote starting today. It's hard to believe, but that's true. But energy has taken center stage, and we'll be talking more about energy in just a couple of moments. Commander Gregory Stenstrom, United States Navy's retired, is going to join us to talk about a recent court decision in Pennsylvania that has many of us shaking our heads about what the courts actually think about election credibility. It's incredible. I don't think any of us can deny that the mainstream media, on this program we call it Marxist state media, has given up their responsibilities with respect to investigative reporting. And there's no question that corruption has surged in this country because the media does not properly investigate the corruption in government. But there are independent conservative producers who have taken up that responsibility. And now there's going to be an award show in Dallas coming up next week. And we're going to hear about that. And that is independent conservative producers who are doing the work of mainstream media. And that is that they are doing investigative reporting. They're producing documentaries. And it is extremely important that we support these independent producers because they are doing the work that the mainstream media no longer does. Jeffrey Lord's going to join us later on in this program to reflect on the presidency of Ronald Reagan. As you know, Jeffrey was a Reagan advisor during the president's time in the White House. He saw the movie Reagan and has a movie review for us. And that is coming your way later on in this broadcast. Can't wait to talk to Jeffrey Lord about that. But we're going to be talking energy in just a moment. The future of America. Our energy production is on the ballot in November. Stay with us. You won't want to miss our next discussion.
Here's a look at your Delmarva forecast. Sunshine mixed with clouds with fog at times early today with a slight chance of rain showers. Daytime highs approaching 79. Winds out of the northeast 5 to 10 miles per hour. Lows dip down to about 65 with fog in spots tonight. Cloudy skies expected. Chance of thunderstorms with fog early tomorrow. Highs around 81. I'm meteorologist Paul Trombley from the Talk of Delmarva Weather Center inland. Right now, it's 72 degrees.
Join me, the Rehoboth Foodie, on Saturdays from 2 to 4 at WGMD 92.7.
Get the WGMD app online today. Jake Smith, mid-mornings on WGMD.
Broadcasting from the Meineke Car Care Center studio. It's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
Warning, the following ZipRecruiter radio spot you are about to hear is going to be filled with F-words.
When you're hiring, we at ZipRecruiter know you can feel frustrated, forlorn even, like your efforts are futile, and you can spend a fortune trying to find fabulous people, only to get flooded with candidates who are just fine.
Not fun.
Fortunately, ZipRecruiter figured out how to fix all of that. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. With ZipRecruiter, you can forget your frustrations because we find the right people for your roles fast, which is our absolute favorite F word. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day.
Fantastic.
So, whether you need to hire 4, 40, or 400 people, get ready to meet first-rate talent. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/free to try ZipRecruiter for free. Don't forget, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free. Finally, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
A lifelong Delawarean raised in a middle-class home, Mike Ramon's parents worked multiple jobs to make ends meet, instilling in Mike a strong work ethic and never give up spirit. A successful businessman and job creator, when his first business was struck by lightning and burned to the ground, instead of giving up, Mike picked up extra jobs to make payroll for his staff, because Mike Ramon is the kind of leader who will always put others first. A family man, coach, and mentor to young people, and committed public servant, Mike Ramon has been a champion for ethics in government, demanding school funding to go directly into the classroom, fighting against the electric car mandate, and easing the tax burden on hardworking Delawareans. Mike Ramon has the experience needed to fix Delaware's economy, care for our veterans, combat the opioid crisis, keep our community safe, and bring integrity back to Dover. A compassionate, prepared leader who will put Delaware, not politics, first. Mike Ramon for governor.
Paid for by Ramon for Delaware.
Based on hundreds of 5-star reviews, Gunshooter Enterprises is proud to be rated by Delaware locals as their favorite gun shop. When you walk through the door at Gunshooter Enterprises in Millsboro, you'll be met with a knowledgeable staff and respect. Customers love the transparent pricing of new and used inventory, the in-house experienced repair team, and the firearms training classes. Visit them in downtown Millsboro with plenty of free public parking at gunshooter.com or call 302-663-0838.
Do you love bourbon? Do you love trying new bourbon? Do you want a chance to win an extremely hard-to-get bottle of Pappy Van Winkle 12-year? Well, check out Figures Island's social media pages for a complete list of the bourbons and rules for the Bourbon of the Month card. Figures Island, Ocean City.
Broadcasting from the Meineke Car Care Center studio. It's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
Take a look at this, an op-ed from the Wall Street Journal. Judges say you can't build that. 2 case studies on LNG and oil drilling, why the U.S. desperately needs permitting reform. Louisiana Senator Bill Cassidy joins me now. Mr. Senator, as I read it, the courts are holding up permits for an LNG project and interfering with offshore drilling in the Gulf of Mexico. The courts are killing fossil fuels. It doesn't matter what Kamala Harris says about fracking. What are you going to do about these court decisions?
Well, a couple of things. One, Republicans are more likely to appoint judges who follow the law as opposed to let their ideology intervene. That's number one. But number two, I am personally introducing something called the Repair Act that would actually address these sort of court overreaches in terms of how they're addressing issues. One more thing, Stu, let's just put this in context. When the courts do these actions, they are against the American worker, they are against the American economy. They're also, by the way, since U.S. natural gas helps lower global greenhouse gas emissions, they're against the world environment. And may I also say they're against our allies because our gas supports countries like Germany.
My friends, there are a lot of enemies of fossil fuels, and last week we were very fortunate to have with us from the AEA, Dan Kish, who joined us today. We're very fortunate to have with us Thomas J. Pyle. Thomas is the president of the American Energy Alliance, as I mentioned, the AEA. He's held numerous positions on Capitol Hill, including serving as a policy analyst for the Majority Whip of the United States House of Representatives and as staff director for the Congressional Western Caucus. We welcome Thomas J. Pyle, president of the American Energy Alliance, to our digital interactive format this morning. Tom, thank you so much for coming on the broadcast. You heard the audio that I played from Fox Business that, well, let's put it this way. I call them the Democrat communists because that's who they are. They go judge shopping, and they're putting America's national security at risk. What was your reaction when you heard about this earlier this week?
Not surprised. It happens all the time. We have a Democratic Party that is beholden to a very extreme minority in this country, a well-funded extreme minority in this country, who use their resources to try to make it as difficult as possible for us to have abundant, affordable, and reliable energy at the ready, and that's just one example.
Now, we can actually prove via the survey that you did of why the Democrat communists are trying to damage our national security and the future of this nation by what they're doing to traditional energy. You conducted a survey of Congress as to who is actually on board with President Trump's platform for returning America to an energy exporter. And not surprising, Nancy Stretch Pelosi and the rest of her party got zeros, correct?
Yeah, we have, every Congress, we have what's called the American Energy Scorecard, because we want to catalog votes, not words. We want to catalog that which people actually do, not what they say, that promote, again, that abundant, affordable, reliable energy that we have to expand economic opportunity, to allow Americans to make their own energy choices, free from bureaucrats, either in Washington or in the case of banning cars, Sacramento, for example. And really, just what would make us more energy secure and make energy affordable, because that is how the United States competes in the world, with affordable energy. And so our scorecard assesses what the members of Congress and Senate offices do, and unfortunately, not a great track record for your home state. Your senators have a 25% rating, only because they voted for one piece of legislation in the right way. However, here's the catch.
Yeah.
They knew President Biden was going to veto the bill. So they wanted to go and say, hey, I'm for this, but they knew already that it wasn't going to result in an improvement. And unfortunately, Congresswoman Rochester has a big zero, a big goose egg.
Yeah, we call her useless. We call her useless, Rochester, Tom, because she's completely useless. I'm not sure why she's there. I have my suspicions. But as far as our senators are concerned, the Reverend Tom Carper, who is the Pope of the Church of Climate Change, we knew that the Reverend Carper would not be in support of traditional energy. And of course, Chris Coons, his claim to fame is that when he was running for Senate, he stole his opponent's campaign signs, got caught, and then has denied ever since that he actually did it. But the problem is that Chris Coons thought he was going to be appointed ambassador to East whatever across the world, and Biden never got the chance to appoint him as ambassador to anything. So he's going to continue blocking progress with regard to the affordability and access to cheap energy. And you brought up a good point. President Trump can have this platform, but the blue states are still going to put roadblocks up to drilling and fracking. You mentioned in your report Bob Casey from Pennsylvania. We have a lot of Pennsylvanians listening and watching this broadcast right now. And the fact is that Bob Casey is damaging the economy and union jobs in his own state by his refusal to get on board with what is tremendous amounts of natural gas in the ground in Pennsylvania, the Keystone State, Tom, correct?
Absolutely. And, Vice President Harris said she wanted to ban fracking before she did her two-step, walk back on that issue. If Vice President Harris were serious, again, do things, don't say things, she could direct President Biden right now to lift his pause on the export of liquefied natural gas. The administration has a self-imposed embargo on new permits for LNG, as was discussed. Also, she could tell Chuck Schumer, she's the president of the Senate. She could tell Chuck Schumer, hey, there are bills on your desk that would eliminate the electric vehicle mandate. So, put it on the floor and vote. Because she just said she's no longer for an electric vehicle mandate, but her own administration is pushing an electric vehicle mandate. So this is just all smoke and mirrors with 59 days to go between now and Election Day.
Tom, I want to get to our producers' questions. They've got some great ones for you. Thomas J. Pyle is joining up, president of the American Energy Alliance. Tom, if President Trump directs the Keystone XL pipeline to be restarted, and I know that Biden and Harris destroyed hundreds of high-paying union jobs. They claim to be pro-union, but they don't want those union workers to be involved in fossil fuels. Can the Keystone XL pipeline be resurrected, or is that a dead issue? Has Canada moved on?
Well, it can be. There's a few steps to get there. I was actually up in Alberta recently talking to the premier and her staff about this very issue. The original owner of the pipeline, the folks who wanted to build it, are probably off the table at this point. But other people could pick it back up. What the Canadian government would like is some kind of guarantee, like a bond or something that would say, hey, if you guys do the about face again in the future, you can't. We got to be paid back for that.
Yeah.
And I think that can be done. President Trump's a deal maker, right?
Yep.
I think what he would do is say, okay, fine, we'll bond it, but if it gets built, then the government should get a piece of that going forward.
He has always had that position. I mean, he's criticized the Department of Defense for not getting us in on Iraqi oil. I mean, we pulled out of Iraq without any benefit, financial benefit whatsoever, and we could have been getting sweet deals, so to speak, on Iraqi crude, right?
Yeah. So I think that it's doable for sure, and it's worth it. At a minimum, it's worth President Trump saying it's back on the table. Let's see if the business community and the governments can get together and figure it out.
Let me get to this question from one of our producers, Bob in Lewes, Delaware. Let's see, we were just there. And, okay, I've got to move back. I'm not sure. Give me just one moment here. We're dealing with, well, I'm going to do this by memory because it's disappeared from my screen. But fusion reactors, what is the status with respect to building fusion reactors in this country, and is it a source of electricity that we might want to consider putting our eggs in that basket in the future? What say you, sir?
So, it has potential, but we've been saying that for a really, really long time. The challenge here is quite frankly, I think there is a role for the federal government in research and development.
Right.
It should be source neutral. Right. If folks want to take a flyer on these emerging technologies and potentials, They should, and the government might benefit by helping with R&D on that. But the problem with what's going on now is the administration has decided what the future is: wind and solar, right?
And making China richer, Tom, right?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And so they're pouring billions of dollars, handing over taxpayer money to solar companies, wind companies, a lot of which aren't even American companies, to build these windmills and solar panels, when we see the results of that in California, for example, in Texas, where there's a lot of wind, where we have unstable grid situations now, or rolling blackouts and things like that.
Oh, Texas found out the hard way with that harsh winter. What was that, 3 or 4 years ago, Tom?
Yeah, and people are dying now as a result of some of this, right?
Yeah.
And so, and the land, the amount of land needed for this stuff too isn't really talked about that much, right? You would need, several Delawares to build enough wind to power Delaware. That's just the kind of the nature of the beast. It's a diffused energy source. It only works when the sun shines or the wind blows, and it's messing up our system, quite frankly.
And no one is saying that solar energy should be ignored. We would be foolish not to continue to explore the value of solar energy. We should never put all our eggs in one basket. There should be no reason why we should not have as many options, energy options to us as a nation, correct?
100%. Energy diversity is energy security.
Yep.
If we put all our eggs in one basket, that basket can get toppled. In the case of this transition that they're talking about all the time, of moving on to electrifying everything, batteries, solar panels, everything, one country controls 80% of the minerals and materials needed.
Oh,
for
what
these
country
components.
is that, Tom? What country are we talking about here?
China.
Hmm.
So in essence, what the Biden, Harris, and Coons and Carper energy plan is switching our independence on hydrocarbons, oil, gas, coal, everything, to a dependence on Chinese minerals and materials. That's not good for us for any reason, especially our energy security and our national security.
Let me get to some questions from our producers, some further questions. Robert in Felton, Delaware asks, would self-driving electric semi-trucks have any place within our economy, or they are just a pipe dream? What say you?
Anything's possible. How much are you willing to pay?
Right. And what is it going to drive? How is it going to drive up the cost of transporting goods from point A to point B? Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
The amount of, material from a certain country that controls 80% of it would be factored in. The cost, the added cost, these are very expensive right now. Look at EVs. The average price of an EV automobile is like $15,000 or $20,000 higher than a gas-powered car and truck. The other thing is you're going to pay more for your food, for your clothes, for everything, because the energy is in everything. The cost of energy is embedded into all of our products, all our goods, most of our services. And so, yes, it's possible, but you really are going to be paying a hefty price for that, especially at this early stage in the advancements in those technologies.
One of our producers, Bob in Lewes, Delaware, an engineer by trade, asks, when will the EV battery manufacturers solve the problem of EV batteries spontaneously catching fire, needing 15,000 gallons of water to extinguish with multiple fire trucks? The problem too, Bob, is some of that water then becomes contaminated too, and then you have the potential for those minerals that are released when those batteries go on fire to create an environmental problem. Correct, Tom?
Yeah, all that is true. The answer to when is when they get off of lithium-ion batteries, because that's the nature of lithium-ion batteries. These are chemical fires around the country. Fire departments are instructing a lot of them to just let it burn because of what you described with the water situation. Also, a lot of EVs are located in densely populated metropolitan areas,
of course,
who have garages.
Yeah.
And when one goes boom in a garage, it sets a chain reaction inside the garage. So they're talking now about maybe not allowing them to be parked in underneath in garages.
You know, I wonder if your homeowner's insurance company would want to know that you have an EV and it's parked inside a garage.
Yeah, that's very real.
You know?
It's a very, very real thing. I mean, look what happened in the cargo ships.
Oh, absolutely. Let me get to this next question. Robert from Felton asks you, what do you believe was the most significant contributing factor to the government and automakers seemingly taking their foot off the gas of this massive push for EVs? Well, I think I can answer that. Tell me if I'm wrong. The Ford Motor Company admitted last week nobody wants EVs, right?
Yeah, what the story here is that the U.S. government, particularly when they passed the CAFE law back in the 70s, but more recently in 2008-9 when they pulled the big autos out of bankruptcy, the auto companies basically became captive to the government. And the government's agenda is, I want EVs above all, so you have to make them. And they said, well, I guess I don't really have a choice. So they really tried to sell this whole thing as like the future, but the consumers aren't buying them.
Don't want them.
That's the reason. They don't want them. Right.
I don't want one. But if you want to go out and buy one, you should have the right and the freedom to do that, correct?
100%. We have a coalition called Save Our Cars Coalition. It is nearly 50 state and national organizations. The message is simple. Americans should be free to choose the types of cars and trucks that best suit their needs.
But the government doesn't want that, Tom. The government wants to control everything.
Yeah, it's worse than that, because the guys at DOE, the smart guys in the agencies, the bureaucrats, they know we can't replace one for one a gas-powered car or truck with an EV. There aren't enough materials in the world at the moment.
But they do fit certain people's lives and circumstances, and they should be free to buy an EV, right?
I absolutely agree with that. But my point is that it's even worse because the government, what their real agenda is, these green groups, is to get cars off the road, period.
Right. Yep. That's
they don't
right.
want us driving.
Tom, I want to ask this question from our producer, Wolf. Will high-temperature semiconductors ever see the light of day? What say you, Tom Pyle?
I think so. Again, it's one of those things where the technology, the technology has to be there, and it has to make economic sense, right? When you have those two things, that's when you have evolutions in systems. That's when you have new products. That's when you replace things, right?
Yep.
We replaced whale oil in our street lamps, right? Because we had something better, faster, cheaper, safer, right? That's how technology works. And I'm excited about the future. I think our energy potential is limitless, but we have governments making dumb decisions and telling us what types of energy we can use, what types of cars we can drive, what kinds of stoves we can put in our homes. This top-down approach has never worked anywhere for anything.
Hasn't. And Tom, I think I don't think I'm talking out of school here. The survey that the AEA conducted, for the most part, Republicans are lockstep with President Trump on his platform for returning the United States to cheap, plentiful energy supplies, lowering the cost of energy. Republicans are on board. Not surprisingly, the Demcoms are not, correct?
Correct, and that's why we also this week officially endorsed President Trump.
I'm glad
because
you
there is
that.
No other choice in this election when it comes to energy freedom and prosperity.
Tom Pyle, president of the AEA. I hope you'll be a frequent guest of this program right up till Election Day. We need to hear your perspective because this is an important topic before voters this fall.
Happy to be here. Thanks.
Tom, thank you very much for your time today. You're listening to Your News Talk America. More of our Digital Interactive Friday coming up in just a moment. Stay with us.
Here is is the marine forecast from the Talk of Delmarva Weather Center. A small craft advisory continues. Patchy fog possible in spots early today. Otherwise, patchy drizzle or light rain in the area. And on the water, northeast winds 10 to 15 knots, seas 5 to 6 feet. The current water temperature is 72 degrees. At Cambridge, high tides at 6:33 a.m., low tide 1:06 p.m. And at Rehoboth Beach, high tide at 10:28 a.m., low tide 4:33 p.m.
Welcome to the Delmarva Peninsula, and thanks for listening to 92.7 and 98.5. The Talk of Delmarva.
This WGMD Fox Business Update is brought to you by Sussex Environmental Consultants. For a healthy home, call 302-947-1810.
I'm Stuart Varney, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Stocks opened flat, then the Dow turned higher. The August employment report was weaker than anticipated, and the government lowered job growth for July and August. However, that report makes it likely the Fed will lower interest rates the week after next. There were just 142,000 new jobs created last month, though the unemployment rate did improve, down to 4.2%. Broadcom shares are down 6%, though it reported an upbeat quarter and strong demand for its artificial intelligence chips. Its forecast did not satisfy Wall Street's sky-high expectations. 7-Eleven's parent company is rejecting the takeover offer from the owner of Circle K, saying it was too low. And Berkshire Hathaway sold more Bank of America shares in recent days. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jim Posilda, invested in you.
Donald Trump Jr. here. Since January of 2021, the cost of living has increased by 17.9%. You can't get that money back, but you can stop your losses by diversifying into a gold IRA from my friends at Birch Gold Group. To learn more, get your free info kit on gold IRAs by texting the word SHELTER to 989898. That's SHELTER to the number 989898 to get your free info kit from Birch Gold now.
Message and data rates may apply.
Broadcasting from the Meineke Car Care Center studio. It's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
Court already ruled that particular requirement regarding the date was virtually meaningless, but that decision is being appealed by Republicans at both the state and national level, all of this coming just about 2 months from the election.
When you fill out your mail ballot, you're supposed to sign and date the envelope as required by law. But does that date actually matter?
We have a fundamental constitutional right to vote. It is among the strongest rights, especially in Pennsylvania under our Constitution.
Steve Loney with the ACLU of Pennsylvania has been involved with the case. He says county boards of election already record when ballots arrive to ensure that they're on time. Thus, he says voters should not have their ballot discarded if they accidentally write their birth dates or forgot to put a date on the envelope altogether.
Now the only reason they look at it is to see if the person complied with a meaningless rule.
A ruling in Commonwealth Court struck down the dating requirement, calling it virtually meaningless. But national and Pennsylvania Republicans are appealing the decision. One GOP state lawmaker said the law is the law and it should be followed.
Just like when you register to vote, when you sign a candidate's petition, when you request a mail-in ballot, there's a little declaration that you're basically saying, I can legally do this, I'm qualified. So if you don't do that on any of those forms, they don't process them.
My friends, the courts, it just seems to me are the biggest obstacles to election integrity, but I'm going to ask that question of our next panelist in just a moment. He is an election integrity warrior. He's Commander Gregory Stenstrom, U.S. Navy retired. The interest in this topic and the response to those segments when Commander Stenstrom has been on has been overwhelming, and that's why I keep asking him every couple of weeks to come back and update us. He returns to Digital Interactive Friday to lay out the dangerous road ahead for election integrity. Good morning, Commander. It's great to have you back on our Digital Interactive Friday again. I got used to seeing you wear that special red, white, and blue shirt that you were wearing. You're not wearing it today.
Yeah, we're at the 60-day mark.
Yeah,
And
it's amazing, isn't it?
I've been was up late and up until 4:30 a.m. and got back up at 7. Took a nap.
Oh gosh.
And just got off the phone just a few minutes ago with grassroots leaders across Pennsylvania as we work towards this election, and I just didn't have time to change, so I apologize.
No, we're so glad to have you, Commander. Your response to that ruling by the Pennsylvania Commonwealth Court blocking the enforcement of the law requiring people to fill out their ballot envelopes properly. What the hell is going on in the Keystone State?
Well, I think that the dissenting opinion by Judge Patricia McCullough.
Right, the only one who voted against it, right?
Yep, but Judge Wojcik is a Democrat, and he has been singularly quashing election cases and election integrity cases for the last 4 years. And he cherry picks them. And as you can see, I'm not sure if he actually wrote the opinion, but the opinion is basically flouting federal election law. And what we're doing is we've already filed a federal case. It's been sat on for the last 4 months in the Eastern District Court of Pennsylvania by a Biden-appointed federal judge. And she has sat on it for 4 months.
Are you surprised, Commander?
No, well, no, we weren't. We anticipated that, and it, for us, they don't. A lot of times they think they're winning, and I think the contempt for the citizenry and the people is palpable, and we expected it. So what we've done is we waited 90 days. We sat there, and she's supposed to hear the case within a week. So
really? That's a federal requirement.
Right, because this is there's no hard requirement, but for a case of this urgency, she's the tradition or the unspoken rule is she should have ruled on it right away, but they can't. They're violating election law, and that specific case was on the election machines. But we have 3 other cases that we were ready to file. So what we did is we strategically filed that case, waited the 90 days. And then what we did is last week we submitted what they call a writ of mandamus, an emergency writ of mandamus to the Third Circuit Appellate Court, saying, look, no matter what happens with the federal court, the Eastern District Court, whether she rules for or against us, it's going to be appealed, and it's going to end up in your hands anyways. So just order her to get on with it, make a ruling either way. We don't care, because you're going to end up being the ones that decide the case, not her. So it's a logical case. They've only had it for a few days. We're waiting for them to come back. That's at the Third Circuit. Now at the federal higher level, the U.S. Supreme Court, we have worked for the past 4 years, a pretty large group of grassroots patriots across Pennsylvania, many of which I think you've interviewed and have been, not become household names, but well known within Pennsylvania. So we were on the phone just this morning, a bunch of us, and we're filing a writ of mandamus, an emergency writ of mandamus to SCOTUS. And what we're saying is we can demonstrate that the administrative state that has taken over our elections, basically at the county level, we have one person, an unelected, partisan, politically appointed person with not even a statutory role. They call them directors of elections. There's no such thing under the statutory code for Pennsylvania election code. What they've done is they've taken over the elections. And what the GOP, the GOP hates Trump. And actually they have great contempt for Republicans. So it's not the GOP that's bad, especially at the local levels. It's at the national level and at the corporate level, executives that have the contempt for the people and for the local GOP people. So what they have done...
Commander, if I may say, they hate Trump, but they hate those who support him, the MAGA movement. They despise us. They
Correct.
actually despise those in the Republican Party who identify as MAGA and support President Trump, correct?
Correct. Absolutely. So they're not going to file the cases. So it's been left. There's no cavalry coming. Trump's not coming. He can't. I mean, he's got his own campaign staff is doing them in. So what we did at a pro se level, every single litigant has been, including myself, has been before the courts, has been before the tribunals, has been before the Commonwealth Court, Pennsylvania Supreme Court, local Commonwealth courts. We've all spoken, I think, with great clarity on these issues. And we put litigative stakes in the ground over the last 4 years that show that the administrative state has seized our elections. What we're asking the Supreme Court to do is to put it back into the hands of the precincts, put it back into the hands of elected judges of elections, of elected assistant judges of elections, in the hands of elected committee people. So what we're saying is put it back in the hands of the Republic. In Pennsylvania, what that will do, in my county, in Delaware County, which is right next to Delaware, the state of Delaware,
Right.
we're Delmarva,
Right.
Which is why I love coming on your show, Jake.
I love it when you come on the show, and so do my viewers and listeners as well, Commander.
So what I'm saying, and what we're saying is, there's 3,200 people across 428 precincts that administered our elections for over 200 years. And only in the last 4 years, since 2020, has this been put into the hands of literally across the state a couple of hundred people.
Unbelievable.
So we're saying in each county, we have thousands of people, elected officials, who will administer our elections and should be allowed to do so. Get rid of the centralized counting centers, get rid of these pseudo officials, and disallow the administrative state from administering our elections. Like the GOP, they contend, hey, we're going to take all these mail-in ballots, millions of mail-in ballots,
right,
and we're going to put them inside of a black box that no one can look into. We can't do recounts. We can't see the mail-in ballot envelopes. We can't canvass. We can't watch them count, afterwards. It's just horrible. And then what they're going to do is, whether they're Democrats, because I don't like to say Democrats, I'm going to say enemies of our country. A lot of these people are.
I call them DebComs, Democrat communists. They are not Democrats. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is a Democrat. These are Democrat communists, Commander, in my estimation.
Yeah, this is not a Democrat-Republican fight like with each other. This is an American people issue. And I want to, whatever Democrats are listening here, we're fighting for you too, okay? What we're looking for is lawful elections. And we're saying, look, take it out of the hands of the administrative state and put it back into the hands of the precincts. Now, their argument is, there'll be chaos. Only we, as the administrative state, can administer elections. And we're saying, look, you've made a complete mess of it for 4 years.
So,
Here's
Commander,
our
they want to mandate elections the way they mandate masks, the way they mandate vaccines, the way they mandate EVs. That's what they want, right? They want control over everything.
Yes. And what the Supreme Court has done recently, if you look at the Loper decision, you look at the, they call it Chevron deference. The Chevron deference, overturning Chevron deference, is the Supreme Court said, hey, we're not going to let politically appointed partisan officials decide the law.
Right.
And this goes back to even the Commonwealth Court. They have personally violated 42 U.S.C. 1983 civil rights. And they've violated what's called the Supremacy Clause. The Supremacy Clause and election law are constitutional rights. These are written right in the Constitution.
Right.
The Supremacy Clause is written in there, and it says, in a national election, state officials cannot flout federal election law. And it was actually Madison, there's different case law that goes back to the 1800s that says, if we allow local states and local state officials, even including the Commonwealth Court, to violate federal law, then there's chaos. They can change the outcome of national elections, which is what they've done.
That's right, and no question about it. And you said, I guess it was probably a month ago, Commander, when there was no doubt in your mind that President Trump had won Pennsylvania in 2020. How many other battleground states it was the same result, correct?
Yes, absolutely. We have the evidence of massive election fraud. We won our case. They've had defamation cases filed against Trump, myself, Leah Hoops,
right,
and Giuliani, Ellis, Newsmax, Fox. I mean, Lindell. They've come after us with hatchets,
right.
And we withstood. Leah and myself, represented ourselves pro se, won the case. We've got the evidence of massive election fraud that would exonerate Trump and others. And of course, we need to be on the radio to let people know that.
Understood.
So we know they're going to steal the election. And what they've done is they've projected already that they're going to steal the election on November 5th and November 6th. They're just going to announce.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have any hesitancy in saying that very boldly, right?
Well, if you look at it, what they've done.
Right.
Well, you look at this this Pennsylvania Commonwealth case. It's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous premise. And McCullough actually said, "You've all lost your minds. This is a direct flouting of federal law," and that's all I can do is dissent. So God love Patricia McCullough for following the law. But the other thing that's done is they're reacting to this very, very badly now. When we said just a few weeks ago, I was on Alex Jones, I was on your show, and I said the election isn't over on November 5th after they declare Harris the winner, which they will do. Yep. The election is actually over on December 10th when the legislatures certify the election.
The election
So
results,
what we've said is, look, we're just going to go to the legislatures, not after the election, but before the election, during the election, and after the election, immediately, and say, here's the evidence of the fraud. We know how they're cheating. And we're going to say to the legislatures, by law, by federal law, you can't certify the vote. So what they did is, I'm talking 2 or 3 days afterwards, there was a governor's conference across these key states.
Right.
That they're going to try to counteract that, and they're going to literally attack the legislators and the legislatures who consider not certifying the vote. Attorney General Cashill in Michigan went so far as to go on public television and state that they were going to arrest legislatures that wouldn't certify the vote for Harris. It's insanity. Congressman Jamie Raskin immediately went on TV.
You mean Jamie the Rascal Raskin?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Just want to make sure we're talking about the same clown.
The same clown. And he's asking, he's saying there'll be civil war.
Yes, he did say that. I played.
We're not going to certify Trump.
Yep, he did say that, and they're going to try. They're going to try under the 13th Amendment to prevent the certification of Trump. Commander, we have to just take a break for just a moment. Please stay with us. Commander Gregory Stenstrom is joining us. We're talking election integrity, not only in Pennsylvania, but in other areas of the country as well. We've got questions from our producers. Stay tuned. More with Commander Stenstrom, who I guess, if he would go to the academy now, he probably would have studied law. But he's getting his education in the law. We'll talk with Commander Stenstrom further in just a moment. Stay with us.
This weather report is served to you from Ra's Restaurant, voted the best of Delaware for Indian cuisine downstate. View more at roslewis.com.
Here's a look at your Delmarva forecast. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times today. Daytime highs approaching 79. Winds out of the northeast, 5 to 10 miles per hour. Lows level off around 65 with fog in spots tonight. Cloudy skies expected. Cloudy skies expected with fog in spots early tomorrow. Chance of thunderstorms. Highs level off around 81. I'm meteorologist Paul Trombley from the Talk of Delmarva Weather Center along the coast. Currently, it's 73 degrees.
Texting enrolls you in a recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Leaving for the gym so early?
I'm ready to go.
Since you started taking Nugenix Total T, you've been acting like when we met in our 20s.
I feel like myself again. Lower testosterone after turning 40 slowed me down. Nugenix Total T has been a game changer for me.
What is it about Nugenix Total T that's different?
It's a key ingredient called Tesnor. It boosts free and total testosterone to help you get back the drive and energy from your youth. Total T is backed by 5 clinical studies.
I've seen the huge difference it's made for you in the gym, at work, and in the bedroom.
I'm so glad I sent them a text for my complimentary bottle. Text PRIDE to 321321 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T. Nugenix is the #1 selling testosterone boosting brand at GNC and Walmart. Let's do it now, and we'll also send you a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, our newest, most powerful fat burner ever. Absolutely free. Text TRIDE to 321321. That's PRIDE to 321321.
Based on hundreds of 5-star reviews, Gun Shooter Enterprises is proud to be rated by Delaware locals as their favorite gun shop. When you walk through the door at Gun Shooter Enterprises in Millsboro, you'll be met with a knowledgeable staff and respect. Customers love the transparent pricing of new and used inventory, the in-house experienced repair team, and the firearms training classes. Visit them in downtown Millsboro with plenty of free public parking at gunshooter.com or call 302-663-0838.
We turn bathroom safety into modern style. Hey, it's Steve Bell from Bell House Medical. Our famous master grab bars and barrier-free showers aren't just about safety. They're a sleek home upgrade. No more awkward stepping over those tub edges. Just smooth, stylish entry and peace of mind. To schedule a free estimate, give us a ring at 302-644-4404. Bell House Medical, your mobility partner.
Low taxes, small government, property rights, agriculture, small towns. These are some of the things that Sussex County Councilwoman Cindy Green has worked to maintain over the last 4 years. Cindy Green will never vote for higher taxes or bigger government. Cindy Green will always work to protect property rights and agriculture. Cindy Green will work to help small towns. On September 10th, vote for Cindy Green in the Republican primary.
Paid for by Friends to elect Cindy Green.
Listen to the Rehoboth Foodie on 92.7, Saturdays 2 to 4 p.m. Brought to you by Bethany Blues, Lewes and Bethany Beach, and Conch Island, Rehoboth Beach.
Views and opinions expressed are those of the hosts, callers, and guests, and not necessarily the staff, management, ownership, advertisers, or sponsors of WGMD.
Broadcasting from the Meineke Car Care Center studio. It's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
Continuing our discussion, our panelist, Commander Gregory Stenstrom, is joining us to talk about election integrity, not only in the Keystone State, but in other areas of the country as well. Commander, I gather you disagree with that representative from the ACLU that the regulations, requirements that you properly date and sign the ballot envelope that you're submitting are meaningless. You disagree with that, obviously.
Well, absolutely. It flouts a U.S. Supreme Court ruling called Doe v. Reed. And what Doe v. Reed says that a public attestation, which it is, which goes on an envelope and so forth, must comply with, law. Right. So you have to have a signature, you have to have a proper date, you have to have your proper address, you have to be a qualified elector. And because they're saying in the petition, I'm a qualified elector, and constitutionally, I lay my head on a pillow in this district. That's what the attestation says. So it's absurd. It's an absurd ruling that flouts federal and state law, by the way, constitutional law, that says that public attestation, which is a public record, which people can examine, that's what we use to verify that the person was a qualified elector. Right. It's a ridiculous ruling. Can you imagine going to the IRS and saying, well,
I hope not.
I hope not. Yeah. But, in any other situation, I don't have to show an ID. I live kind of near 2nd Street in Maine. I'm not a citizen. I don't want to say where I live. I'm not going to sign the bloody thing. And I'm not even going to date it. It's an absurd. This is why McCullough said, are you guys out of your minds? This is insanity. And the ACLU director got, whether his motives are genuine, whether they're well-meaning, it's moronic.
Commander, we've got to leave it right there. We've run out of time, and I've got 2 more questions from producers. I'm sorry.
Sure, I'm ready.
Can you come back with us again in about 2 weeks?
Always.
I want to
love
thank
being on
you.
your show, Jake.
Commander, thank you so much. God bless, and we will talk soon.
We'll give you an update. Thank you.
All right, very good.
Okay, bye-bye.
City and WUSX Seaford Salisbury. News, talk, and sports.
Former President Trump back in court in New York. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, for a hearing that only lasted about 20 minutes, trying to get a civil judgment overturned, ordering him to pay millions of dollars to author E. Jean Carroll for defaming her while denying Carroll's allegations he sexually assaulted her decades ago. Trump lawyer John Sauer just told the appeals court panel,
as President Trump testified, he never even met Miss Carroll and didn't know who she was until the allegations were made. There is no physical evidence, no eyewitnesses, no DNA, no video, no complaint, no police report, no investigation. A quintessential he said, she said case.
Well, one of the appeals judges told him,
as you know, we give great deference to the district courts on these matters. It's very hard to overturn a jury verdict based on evidentiary rulings.
Well, Sauer argues they allowed evidence against Trump unrelated to the case that should not have been allowed. In Georgia, separate hearings for an accused school shooter and his father. The 14-year-old went first.
In essence, you're charged with 4 counts of felony murder.
For the 2 students and 2 teachers, Colt Gray is charged with killing at Appalachia High School Wednesday. The gun he's accused of using was bought by his father. Colin Gray charged with second-degree murder, involuntary manslaughter, and cruelty to children.
A maximum total possible penalty for the charges that you currently are facing of 180 years imprisonment.
An American woman has been killed in the West Bank. The State Department says it's investigating. The AP cites Palestinian doctors and media saying she was shot by Israeli troops cracking down on a pro-Palestinian demonstration. We got a key update to the economy this morning. Hiring rose last month from July, 142,000 jobs, but Fox Business Network's Lauren Simonetti reports.
That was worse than the 160,000 expectation. The unemployment rate smack in line to the expectation, coming in at 4.2%.
That's down 1/10 from the July rate. America's listening to Fox News.
Hey guys, Donald Trump Jr. here. Let me ask you this. Does inflation feel worse than what we're being told in the news? That's because the official inflation rate doesn't tell the whole story. Since January 2021, the cost of living has increased by 17.9%. You can't get that money back, but what you can do is stop your losses today. How? By diversifying your savings into a gold IRA from my friends at Birch Gold Group. When you're done, your money will be parked in a tangible asset with a proven history. To see how it works, get your free info kit on gold IRAs by texting the word PROTECT to 989898. I trust Birch Gold. They provide an easy process to roll over your 401k or IRA into gold without losing your tax-advantaged status. So text PROTECT to 989898. That's PROTECT to the number 989898 to get your free info kit on gold IRAs from Birch Gold.
That's Delmarva's home for local news, 92.7 and 98.5 WGMD, the talk of Delmarva.
This WGMD News Report is locally brought to you by the Cottage Cafe. Open daily at 11 a.m. Find the menu, specials, and fun event details at cottagecafe.com.
I'm Jerry Lademan in the Talk of Delmarva Newsroom. The planned wind power project off the coast has cleared a big hurdle. The Bureau of Ocean Energy Management has approved U.S. Wind's turbine project despite concerns about how it could affect historic properties onshore and sea turtles that live in the area. The BOEM says those impacts will be minimal. It's far from the last word on the massive project. Several shore communities continue to fight, and the whole question could end up in court. A traffic stop leads to drug and gun charges for a man from Greenwood. State troopers say nervous behavior tipped them off when they pulled over Akeem Frazier Tuesday morning on Coverdale Road. That led to a search where they say they found a gun under the driver's seat and heroin and cocaine in Frazier's pockets. He's facing felony charges and is at SCI on $50,000 bail. An audit finds Dewey Beach is handling its books well. The commissioners there have voted to approve the review, which says there are no weaknesses in the town's internal practices. The auditors did recommend some technical changes in how financial statements are prepared. Commissioner Gary Persinger says the town's care with finances enabled it to handle a $1 million allocation for town hall construction without any problems. Mental health agencies highlighting resources aimed at preventing suicide this month. September is National Suicide Awareness Month. Among those speaking out, the Worcester County Health Department, which says help is available for those thinking of ending their lives and for their family and friends. Counselors say people with thoughts of self-harm need compassion and a connection to the many resources out there. If you or anyone you know is struggling, 988 is the National Suicide Prevention Hotline.
WGMD AccuWeather.
Breezy and pleasant with clouds and sun this afternoon. Look for unusually rough surf and rip currents. High 75. Partly cloudy and humid tonight. The low 66. Tomorrow, humid times of clouds and sun. Look for unusually rough surf and rip currents. High 74 at the beach to 78 inland. You'll find more on these and other stories. Visit talkofdelmarva.com.
Karaoke night every Saturday at Cottage Cafe. Looking for something fun to do? Stop into the Cottage Cafe every Saturday for late night karaoke. Every Saturday from 9 p.m. to midnight, enjoy karaoke in the dining room, along with food and drink specials. Come by with friends, enjoy some drinks, snacks, and showcase your vocal talents. The Cottage Cafe, located on Route 1 in Bethany Beach, with karaoke every Saturday from 9 p.m. to midnight.
It's time for the 92.7 and 98.5 Talk of Delmarva Sports Report.
And good morning. After months of waiting, NFL fans were treated to a fantastic opening night game last night between the Ravens and Kansas City Chiefs, as heard on WGMD's 92.7. Fox's Joe Morgan has the details.
NFL fans couldn't have asked for a better finish. The 2024 NFL season got underway Thursday night as the Chiefs beat the Ravens 27-20 in a thrilling game. With the Chiefs up a touchdown, Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson led his team down the field in the final 2 minutes, and the two-time MVP appeared to connect with tight end Isaiah Likely in the end zone for a touchdown with no time remaining on the clock. But after review, the call was overturned as Likely's toe was out of bounds. Patrick Mahomes was 20 of 28 for 291 yards, throwing one touchdown and an interception, while Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson threw for 273 yards and a score, while leading Baltimore in rushing with 122 yards. Joe Morgan, Fox News.
An NFL game will be played in South America for the first time ever tonight. Fox's Tony Ginaldo has a preview.
Arena Corinthians in Sao Paulo, Brazil will serve as host for a Week 1 matchup between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Green Bay Packers. The two NFC foes duking it out as part of the NFL's effort to expand the game worldwide. But with the game comes concerns from players about their safety, as Brazil's gun violence and crime rates are among the highest in Latin America. The state's Public Security Secretariat says security operations will be coordinated with U.S. authorities. Both the Eagles and the Packers are looking to get back in the playoffs after early exits last season, with Philly losing in the wildcard round and Green Bay being eliminated in the divisional round. Kickoff is at 8:15 Eastern, with the game streaming on Peacock. Tony Genualdo, Fox News.
And for the Eagles, linebacker Devin White is out, as is quarterback Isaiah Rodgers. Guard Landon Dickerson, his status is unknown. Steelers quarterback Russell Wilson was limited in yesterday's practice after reporting tightness in the calf he injured during training camp. The Steelers at the Atlanta Falcons this weekend. College football news. A federal judge ordered the attorneys negotiating a major settlement that could reshape the business model of college sports to go back to the drawing board to resolve concerns she has about how the deal would limit the ways in which boosters can provide money to athletes. To high school football, no action of the downstate teams last night. Week 1 for most teams kicks off tonight, after some teams, though, did play in week 0 from downstate, like Sussex Central, Cape Henlope, and Laurel, and Seaford. Maryland's Bayside Conference kicks off their season tonight as well. Mike Bradley, 92.7 and 98.5 WGMD Sports.
Broadcasting from the Meineke Car Care Center studio. It's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
Unselect committee doesn't use the facts that we have. They use the make-believe story that they have.
The definition of an insurrectionist is someone who seeks to overthrow the legitimate government of their country.
We've already had a bloody hill. We do not want a bloody war.
And the result is blood on the hands of those wicked people.
They heard police saying that they were hoping to get a chance to beat some of these Trump supporters.
This is the
history books. I will always be there as this is what's happened, and it's a lie. They lied about the time by almost 2 hours to change and create this narrative.
But if they divide the very people, that's what it's all about. United, we stand. Divided, we die.
My friends, that audio was from a investigative documentary. That's what I'm calling it, called Bloody Hill. And one of the reasons this nation is in serious decline right now is due to the erosion of the media's responsibilities to investigate and accurately report on stories. The maggots in Marxist state media, my friends, are no longer doing investigative work. They're no longer investigative journalists. Those who used to specialize in investigative reporting don't exist anymore. If they do, they're reporting on phony Russia hoaxes again. But the fact is, what's happened is conservative media has created an alternative to investigative journalism. And it is through the conservative, independently produced documentaries. And I want to talk about something that's coming up. We have a panelist who's being checked in what we call the green room, the digital green room. But it's the American Gulag Chronicles and Unredacted Media. The First Amendment Film Fest to be held September 13th through 15th at the historic Texan Theater in Greenville, Texas. Now, what's important to note is that these investigative, independently produced documentaries have helped us to understand what really transpired on January 6, 2021. As you know, many of our fellow Americans, actual political prisoners of the Democrat Communist Party. And much of the evidence and the proof of what Nancy Stretch Pelosi and others were up to that day by targeting supporters of President Trump would never have seen the light of day if not for these independently produced documentaries, which have replaced, as I mentioned, independent investigative reporting in this country. That's what has happened. Well, I want to welcome to the digital interactive broadcast today panelist David Sumrall. David is an activist, citizen journalist, January 6th documentary filmmaker of writing history. David, I just played some audio from Bloody Hill, but my feeling is that the lack of investigative journalism in this country, that void has now been taken up by independent producers like yourself who are doing the investigative journalism and producing independently produced documentaries. Those documentaries are going to be judged, and they are going to be available for viewing later this month in Texas, correct?
People like myself and others that are, not big celebrities or influencers, just doing the investigation and the real work to find out what actually happened.
Tell us a little bit about what's planned. This is the first ever First Amendment Awards ceremony, the First Amendment Film Fest to be held, and that's September 13th through 15th at the historic Texan Theater in Greenville. Whose idea was this, and are those who are not going to be in Texas, will we be able to watch this online?
Well, let's start with that. Yes, everyone can watch this all over the world, actually. It's a live stream event. My dear friend Tamara Lee came to me a few years ago and said, we need to do a film fest. We were making these documentaries. There was no platform for people to see them. Everyone else's documentaries were censored as well. So we're doing something completely unique. We're putting 12 outstanding films, some full length, some short films together that tell a complete story. They're one-ofs that are very powerful in their own way and at their own time, standalone films. But when you put them all together, it tells a complete story. and I think people will take away a more well-rounded education so they can be prepared for those conversations.
David, what's the name of the documentary that you were just referring to? One of our producers in the chat room, Colonel Michelle Williams, U.S. Air Force retired 30-year veteran of the United States Air Force, was asking.
Well, there's several. Let me just list them real quick for you. We've got the world premiere of J.J. Carroll and Ryan Matta's What is Treason? Trafficking, the first part of the 2-film series. We've got Plandemic, the musical from Mickey Willis. It's going to be amazing.
Does Dr. Fauci do a song and dance routine?
I can't wait to find out. It's going to be amazing. And then, of course, David Clements with Let My People Go. And then we do some J6 films. We do the 4 films that we put out at StopHate.com: Writing History, Bloody Hill, 1,000 Days of Terror, and J6, A True Timeline. And then Chris Burgard and Nick Searcy's War on Truth. The War on Truth is after that.
Yeah, I've had Nick on the program several times.
Oh, it's an amazing, amazing film. And what this does, I mean, like I said, they're powerful films by themselves, but when you see them together, it tells a complete story that you get all at one sitting, basically, and it's shareable. You know, people will watch movies. They might not go to a rally or an event or a function or watch what you ask them to watch, but they'll watch movies. And this is something you can really share the links, give them away. It's very affordable. And let me go ahead and throw in, this is a live stream event, yes, but we're going to come out with a post-edit production a couple of weeks after the event so you can host your own watch parties, have this as a tool.
What a great idea, David. What a great idea.
Well, especially before this election. This is a fully rounded, like I said, education. It's emotional, it's engaging, it's entertaining. The awards that we do Saturday night will be a hoot. It's going to be a really good time. And then Sunday, we're kind of doing church. We're showing Into the Light, which is the Mike Smith's follow-up to Out of Shadows. We're doing The Crucible of Donald Trump. And, of course, on Sundays, since it's a Bloody Hill, that's based on the 7 Abominations, we're doing our church films, basically gospel-based. Still all evidentiary, you know, really great evidence films for people to learn from. But I want people to be armed with the knowledge. So when they go into these conversations with people on either side, they know more than anyone. You know, a friend of mine was on a show the other night. They had still never heard of Ashley Babbitt or Roseanne Boylan from January 6th.
Oh, come on.
How
Are
is
you
that?
kidding?
No, I'm serious. So this is where we are, folks. And this is shareable. Like I said, $25, you can give these things away all day long.
We are talking with, we're very pleased to have him with us, David Summerall. David is an activist, a citizen journalist. My friends, at January 6th and the events of January 6th and the trap that Pelosi and others laid for the supporters of President Trump on January 6th have created this independent, conservative, documentary world out there. Let's call it a world, because that's what's happening. We would have never have known the truth about people like Ashley Babbitt and others. Ashley Babbitt, a United States Air Force veteran who was murdered. Let's face it, Merrick Garland keeps lying, going on national TV and lying that Trump supporters were responsible for, 4 or 5 deaths? We were responsible, President Trump supporters, for 0 deaths.
That's right.
That is correct, right?
That is correct. And listen, I don't want to get off track too far. I'm a licensed investigator. I work with the lawyers and defendants and have for 3 years. I've had access to the government's database. And I've tried to tell people what I can see in there, but they don't seem to listen. We did J6, A True Timeline, with a great team. People can see it with their own eyes. Video is powerful. So now I'm doing the same thing with this film fest. I could tell you about all 12 of these films, and maybe you get a little something, but when you see them all in order, it tells that complete story. It is chronological for the most part, so you're going to see how things have evolved and then where we are and how to fix it. So it's a really amazing concept, and then to use it as a tool afterwards, especially before the election, we have to get this information out to the masses.
David, I need to take a break. We have to pay some bills, and when we come back, I want to ask you some questions that have been provided by our producers online. They've got some good ones, and I'd like to present them to you when we return. We're talking with David Summerall, an activist, citizen journalist, January 6th documentarian. My friends, there is a new media out there conservative investigative journalists, independent producers who are out there and telling us the truth. Of course, the government doesn't want that. I'm sure David and others have found that the Democrat Communist Party wants to continue hammering them and preventing them from learning what they should learn so that they can tell us. But we'll talk about that with David in just a moment on Your News Talk America. We're digital, interactive today. It's Friday, and we'll have more in just a moment.
This weather report is sponsored by Bell House Medical, home of the Master Grab Bar. Need grab bars? You call, they install, so you don't fall. 302-644-4404.
Here's a look at your Delmarva forecast. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times. Today, daytime highs approaching 79. Winds out of the northeast, 5 to 10 miles per hour. Lows level off around 65 with fog and spots tonight. Cloudy skies expected. Cloudy skies expected with fog and spots early tomorrow. Chance of thunderstorms. Highs level off around 81. I'm meteorologist Paul Trombley from the Talk of Delmarva Weather Center along the coast. Currently, it's 73 degrees.
Broadcasting from the Meineke Car Care Center studio. It's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
Texting enrolls you in a recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Leaving for the gym so early?
I'm ready to go.
Since you started taking Nugenix Total T, you've been acting like when we met in our 20s.
I feel like myself again. Lower testosterone after turning 40 slowed me down. Nugenix Total T has been a game changer for me.
What is it about Nugenix Total T that's different?
It's a key ingredient called Tesnor. It boosts free and total testosterone to help you get back the drive and energy from your youth. Total T is backed by 5 clinical studies.
I've seen the huge difference it's made for you in the gym, at work, and in the bedroom.
I'm so glad I sent them a text for my complimentary bottle. Text TRIED to 321321 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T. Nugenix is the #1 selling testosterone boosting brand at GNC and Walmart. Do it now and we'll also send you a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, our newest, most powerful fat burner ever. Absolutely free. Text TRIDE to 321321. That's TRIED to 321321.
A lifelong Delawarean raised in a middle-class home, Mike Ramon's parents worked multiple jobs to make ends meet, instilling in Mike a strong work ethic and never give up spirit. A successful businessman and job creator, when his first business was struck by lightning and burned to the ground, instead of giving up, Mike picked up extra jobs to make payroll for his staff, because Mike Ramon is the kind of leader who will always put others first. A family man, coach, and mentor to young people, and committed public servant, Mike Ramon has been a champion for ethics in government, demanding school funding to go directly into the classroom, fighting against the electric car mandate, and easing the tax burden on hardworking Delawareans. Mike Ramon has the experience needed to fix Delaware's economy, care for our veterans, combat the opioid crisis, keep our community safe, and bring integrity back to Dover. A compassionate, prepared leader who will put Delaware, not politics, first. Mike Ramon for governor.
Paid for by Ramon.
Wegovy, and Mounjaro. All of these prescription medications have been extremely effective at curbing appetite and helping our patients easily lose pounds that they have not been able to lose before at affordable prices. We make it easy for you to lose weight and improve your health. Book your free consultation today at 302-227-1079. Renove Medical Spa, where the doctor is the difference.
Renove. Views and opinions expressed are those of the hosts, callers, and guests, and not necessarily the staff, management, ownership, advertisers, or sponsors of WGMD.
Broadcasting from the Meineke Car Care Center studio. It's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
Your News Talk America. Your anchorman, Jake Smith, with you until noon Eastern Time, my friends. We're talking about the first, annual First Amendment Film Fest to be held September 13th through 15th at the historic Texan Theater in Greenville, Texas. It's hard to believe that the United States of America would require a First Amendment film festival, but that's exactly what we need. Sad but true, my friends. Our guest, David Summerall, he's our panelist. He's an activist, citizen journalist, and January 6th documentary filmmaker of Writing History. Bloody Hill, 1,000 Days of Terror, and the founder of Stop Hate in 1992 and StopHate.com, the co-founder of American Celebration Tour, creator, host of Discussion Island, and American Gulag Chronicles board president, American Patriot Relief board member as well. David, I have to apologize to you because last week I booked you inadvertently, thinking I booked you for today. I actually booked you last week, and that was an error, and that was my error, so I apologize to you, but I'm so grateful that you came on with us this morning. Now, let me get to a question from one of our producers, and Bob in Lewes asks, do you blame religious leaders who were converted to communism by Saul Alinsky and other social activists using social justice to attack free capitalism as sinful? Well, what about free speech as sinful as well, Bob? Christ praised free capitalism in the parable of the talents. What say you about the decline of this Christian nation and the problems that we're having with free speech, our freedoms general, because God's natural law is being suppressed, isn't it, David?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. They're trying to destroy the Constitution, which is the rights given to us by God, written down in the Constitution. That's all not given to us by any lawmakers. It's our God-given rights. And this is the whole thing. The destruction of the Constitution means the destruction of the world. They know that, this globalist agenda. And look, I've been fighting for different issues since the 90s, hatred being one of them, so that people can get together and understand who the real enemy, I'm sorry to say, is at this point, and it's not each other. We've all been pitted against each other. This is a great time for us
very successfully pitted against each other. That was by design, David. Would you agree?
Absolutely, 100%. So then the free speech issues during Trump's term, even, we were doing rallies all over the country, and people didn't seem to understand the importance. And, this is a call to action more than anything. People have to take action of some sort. There's people that are willing to fight in the street. There's people that need to learn and share information, repost and share. There's something for everyone to do, but they have to take that action, or we're going to lose everything we have. Look, in 1999, China declared unconventional war on America. We know this. And look at Saul Alinsky's rules for radicals. We look back for decades. This is a systematic look at our schools, our media, our entertainment, and then our food and our air, our water. It's a system-wide failure as far as the American people are concerned. And we need to take our systems, but we can't have a hands-off form of government. We can't have a uniparty in control. We need to take the steering wheel back and control our own destiny again and bring America back up to the state that it was when I was a kid, when we were proud to be an American, where all those songs were written, and we've gotten very far away. You take God out of everything, Jake, this is what you end up with.
No question. No question, David. You're absolutely right, and that's the America that we have today.
That's right.
One of our producers, John in Delmar, he uploaded a question for me, but I want to ask this question of you, David, because I just had Commander Gregory Stenstrom on talking about election integrity in Pennsylvania, and the Democrat communists are trying to steal the 2024 election using many of the same methods that they used in 2020, and they're brazen about it. But he asked this question: do you think there is a possibility of real civil war after the election? I'm speaking of an attempt to overthrow the government by force. David, what say you?
I fear that as much as anything. And look, I think it's a real concern for everyone. And we've addressed this, especially at the end of Bloody Hill. We don't want a civil war. We don't want that. That's the worst time in our history, in all of American history, is brother killing brother. We don't want a repeat of that. We don't hate people because they disagree with us.
But they hate us.
They
hate us.
And that's the thing. It's always the others. And we need to all get past that and learn what grace is again and get back to, a peaceful debate, take the hate out of that and learn how to communicate again. It's really a horrible position to be pitted against each other. It's the ant analogy in the jar, the black ants, the red ants, whether it's true or not. Whoever shakes the jar is the one that's making the ants mad. It's not, they'll get along otherwise. And it's our government that's shaking our jar, folks. And that's what we're trying to say. Look, I can't hate my neighbor, even if he's an idiot. If he doesn't know what's going on, it's not his fault. He's been duped, programmed, drank the Kool-Aid, whatever you want to say it is. That's the reality that most people live in. And sadly, they've been in Egypt so long, they don't even know where they are. or how they got there. So it's a process. It took decades to get here. It's going to take some time to dig us back out, but that's where the action and effort has to come into play.
David, how can we watch the First Amendment Freedom Award? Is it Freedom Awards? First Amendment Film Fest. I'm sorry. It's First Amendment Film Fest. My apology. How can we watch it?
It's real easy. Just go to 1afilmfest.com. Number 1A, First Amendment, right? 1afilmfest.com, and get your live stream tickets. You know, the theater sold out at Small Dinner Theater. Beautiful venue in Texas. People are going to love the way this looks and feels. We're doing everything we can to make it an enjoyable, educational experience. But yeah, get your live stream tickets, 1afilmfest.com, and we'll be playing it, and then we'll send you a link after that's that post-production edit for you to share and have your own watch parties. It's going to be a really good time.
And you know, above all, everything about it sounds American, doesn't it, David?
It absolutely is built that way. Absolutely.
David Summerall, thank you so much for coming on with us this morning.
Thank you for having me. It's great to meet you.
All right. We'll have you on again at some point. You're listening to Your News Talk America. Back with more. Jeffrey Lord is going to provide us with his Siskel Ebert thumbs up, thumbs down of the new Reagan biopic. It's coming up in just a moment. Stay with us.
Here is the marine forecast from the Talk of Delmarva Weather Center. A small craft advisory continues. Patchy fog possible in spots early today. Otherwise, patchy drizzle or light rain in the area. And on the water, northeast winds 10 to 15 knots, seas 5 to 6 feet. The current water temperature is 72 degrees. At Cambridge, high tides at 6:33 a.m., low tide 1:06 p.m. And at Rehoboth Beach, high tide 10:28 a.m., low tide 4:33 p.m.
Hi, this is the Rehoboth Foodie. Join me on Saturday afternoons from 2 to 4 on WGMD 92.7, the talk, or rather, the food of Delmarva.
This WGMD Fox Business Update is brought to you by Sussex Environmental Consultants. For a healthy home, call 302-947-1810.
I'm Susan Lee, and this is the Fox Business Report.
New York Federal Reserve President John Williams says it's time to cut interest rates. His comments followed cooler growth in the August employment report. Though the unemployment rate slipped to 4.2% last month, there were 142,000 new jobs created, weaker than the 160,000 anticipated. And job growth for June and July was reduced by 86,000. Salesforce, the business software company that's also parent of messaging app Slack, is buying data security business Own Company for about $1.9 billion in cash. Costco sales rose more than 7% in August compared with a year ago, though Costco says lower gas prices resulted in weaker sales at pumps. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Ginny Coselda. Invested in you.
Donald Trump Jr. here. Since January of 2021, the cost of living has increased by 17.9%. You can't get that money back, but you can stop your losses by diversifying into a gold IRA from my friends at Birch Gold Group. To learn more, get your free info kit on gold IRAs by texting the word SHELTER to 989898. That's SHELTER to the number 989898 to get your free info kit from Birch Gold now.
Message and data rates may apply.
Broadcasting from the Meineke Car Care Center studio. It's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
I was a brand new KGB officer, given my first intelligence assignment. A certain actor and union leader.
Dutch, there's a purpose for your life.
You can run from a bully for so long, but after a while, you're gonna have to stand up to him.
There's about to be another war right here in Hollywood. The commies on one side, the mob on the other. And you're right in the middle, son.
Hello, I'm Nancy Davis.
Hello, Nancy Davis. I'm Ron Reagan.
I'm curious, Ron. What would you say is the issue of our time?
No question about it. Communism and the Soviet Union.
It's you!
I'm running for governor, and I would like your vote.
I forgot your name. Do his initials help? RR? Honey, Roy Rogers is here! And he's running for governor!
Ronnie, remember when we met? You told me that you wanted to make a difference in this world. You know what you have to do.
Governor Reagan, again, typically is against such a proposal.
There you go again.
But he was not afraid to take us on.
There's nothing a retired governor can do about the Soviets. But a president, now he can do a thing or two.
Welcome to your life.
I was a lifeguard on a river,
There's no turning back.
and I learned how to read the currents. Not just the ones on the surface, but also the ones deep underneath the water.
I am about to start the biggest war of this century, and I'm not going to fire a single shot.
You're gonna blow up 8 years of diplomacy.
Well, if you think that got their undies in a wad, you just wait.
What did the president know, and when did he know it?
What would you have me do?
I want you to fight.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Wants to rule the world.
Well, Johnny, I think that one of the things is that people keep looking to government for the answer, and government's the problem.
You're listening to Your News Talk America. That audio you just heard was the trailer from the new Reagan biopic. And Jeffrey Lord, when they got to the line of, oh, honey, Roy Rogers is here, Jeffrey thought that was very funny. You know, Jeffrey, I added that little bit in the end there after the trailer of President Reagan being interviewed before he ran again for president in 1980, excuse me, telling Johnny Carson and his audience that, well, the problem is government. And Johnny Carson's audience clapped. But if you think about President Reagan's public life, it was all about that your problems are not going to be solved by government. Government is going to complicate those problems and make your life difficult. That government is the problem, not the answer. He really built his entire public life on that premise, did he not, Jeffrey?
He did. And what I find interesting is, remember, this was a conversion.
Right.
He at once he used to say that he had been a bleeding heart liberal in his 30s and 40s when he was a young movie actor. And then it began to dawn on him when, I think on one occasion, he had to pay 90% of his income in taxes. And this started to cause him to ask questions of, why do they need 90% of my money? I'm the one that's out here working my butt off, and
right.
This is what's happening. So he slowly began to come around, and it was interesting. He was giving, as he had sort of become converted,
right.
In 1962, he was giving a speech. He, was now out there on the speaking trail, and he was in California, and he gave a speech about all of this. And when he was done, a woman in the audience came forward and said, "Mr. Reagan, you're totally convincing, and I think you really are a Republican. But I've looked, and you're a registered Democrat. Will you switch to the Republican Party? And if so, I'm a registrar, and I can do it right now."
Really?
Yes. And well, and so he did it.
Did he really? He always
really
said the Democrat Party left him, but he always said that, right?
That's
Jeffrey?
right. And then he got to 1964.
Right.
And you had this group of California well-to-do business leaders who had heard him give this speech, and they decided to pony up and pay for the television time for him to address the nation, to give this speech, but in a national televised
one
address.
of his truly greatest speeches ever, and an awakening to the nation that perhaps the nation missed, right?
And to show you how the steamroller picked up steam, that was delivered on the night of October 27th, 1964. A handful of days later, I think it was November 3rd, something like that, Barry Goldwater lost in a landslide to Lyndon Johnson.
Right.
And almost immediately, these California businessmen came to him and said, Ron, you've got to run for governor.
Which he did, and he won.
Which he did, and he won. And the thing that one of the stories I love about this, of course, his claim to fame was that he was a movie and television actor. And his opponent was Governor Edmund Pat Brown, the father of Jerry Brown, who himself was going to be governor. And Pat Brown was a typical Paul. He'd come up through the thing. He had been, I think, Attorney General of California. Eventually, by this time, he was a 2-term governor, and all these. He's running for a 3rd term. So the Brown people put together this commercial, which they ran. It says, Ronald Reagan is an actor. Pause. Beat. And you know who shot Lincoln, don't you?
Oh my gosh, are you serious?
John Wilkes Booth, the actor, right? Well, amazingly, this backfired big time. And Reagan wound up winning by something like 1 million votes in a landslide in 1966.
And that was a very difficult time, not only in California, but across the nation, because the unrest, campus unrest and the Vietnam War was going on, and Reagan was right in the middle of that as governor, correct?
Yes, he was. And there is a scene in the movie which is quite true, that when all of these kids at USC Berkeley or somewhere in one of the California university systems are protesting him, he goes for the Board of Governors meeting of the university.
Right.
And you've got all these kids lining the sidewalk on either side, yelling and screaming at him and everything. He just smiles, doesn't say anything, and he gets to the top step, turns around and goes, shh. which caused them all to break out in laughter, which was, I guess, his point as he went on. But he was terrific, and I can say this too.
Yeah.
In 1968, I was a 17-year-old page at the 1968 Republican Convention in Miami Beach. Richard Nixon was far and away the overwhelming choice. And exactly.
I was doing the Richard Nixon victory
double
fingers.
V.
Yeah, the double V, right.
And I said, I've got a call there. And so Reagan was the favorite son candidate of the California delegation. Well, about 24 hours or 48 hours, I mean, the convention was already in session, he changed his mind and became a full-fledged candidate for president. And I was running around my assignment as a page, and I still have, they gave us all little orange vests, this being Florida, with an orange on the breast pocket sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it was all bright orange so that the delegates could see the pages if they needed somebody and they could find them. So I'm running around. My job was to take the speeches of the people at the podium, get them run off, purple ink and the
mimeograph machines. Oh, you're dating yourself, Jeffrey.
I know. And then I had to run around and hand them to the press that sat on either side of the podium. And so I'm behind the scenes, and I'm walking along, and I see this flurry of all of that activity, and I look up, and who is it but Ronald Reagan himself in the flesh? The first time I ever saw him.
Is that the first time you met the president?
The first time, and I didn't get to meet. I mean, he gave me well, hello.
Well,
but I was, I'm 17. I was just awestruck, and what particularly got my attention, politicians then and now generally wear navy blue suits and a red tie or red, white, and blue tie or whatever. He was dressed with a white blazer with a chocolate tie and chocolate slacks, looking every inch the movie star that he had in fact been.
Well, he bought into the Southern California Hollywood look. Then that's what you're saying, Jeffrey?
That is exactly what I'm saying.
So, now, Jeffrey, I tried to portray you as Siskel or Ebert today. All right, so you've seen the movie. Thumbs up, thumbs down, 2 thumbs up.
Oh, thumbs up. And I'll probably go see it again. And I must say,
wow,
I got a little misty-eyed, a
I'm
little
sure
weepy there because some of these things I remember myself, from being around him, and some of the things he would say. Well, the best thing for the inside of a man is the outside of a horse.
It's better than the backside of a horse, that's for sure.
That Roy Rogers thing, I wasn't there for that, but I heard it at the time. He was running for governor, and he's doing the thing, and the woman, he says, well, I'll give you a hint. My initials are RR. And this woman turns, honey, Roy Rogers is here, and he's running for governor.
So that's true? That's a true story?
That is a true story.
Wow. Yeah. I thought that was just, Hollywood.
No.
Jeffrey, what was Nancy Reagan really like?
She was very protective of her Ronnie. That was her number one priority always. And if she felt for some reason that people were taking advantage of him, or there was something being done to his detriment, she would make herself known. And I can remember one specific occasion when he was president.
Yeah.
It was the fall of 1986, and I'm in the political office, and our job, one of them, was to see that he got around, the president, whomever it is the leader of their party. And in an election year, particularly when they are not the candidate, they have got to be out there running around campaigning for, in his case, Republican candidates. So we had set him up to go out to Washington State, Washington, Oregon, to campaign for some candidate for senator or governor. And then our youthful selves in the political office, once he was done, we were going to fly him back to Washington.
Right.
The same day. And Mrs. Reagan calls. Suffice to say, she was not pleased.
Uh-oh.
My husband may be 70, whatever he was at the time.
Right.
But you are not going to fling him all across the country and back in the same day. We stay overnight in Los Angeles. Do you get it? Yes, ma'am. We get it. Absolutely.
Well, who did you think you were, Don Regan, for crying out
loud? Yeah. Big mistake. And Don Regan got God bless him. He was a nice man, but he was, when Jim Baker, who had been the chief of staff and was really a very savvy political figure.
Right.
Jim Baker wanted to be a cabinet secretary. My boss was Drew Lewes, who was the former secretary
Transportation.
of Transportation.
Yeah,
Yes.
right.
But I knew Drew well because he was a Pennsylvanian. He'd been our nominee for governor in '74 that he lost, but still he did fairly well. He'd become very prominent with Reagan as a Reagan supporter. So he was made Secretary of Transportation when they fired, and then they fired the air traffic controllers. He became quite well known in all this. But Drew was getting a little restless and wanted to go back into the business world. So he got a job as the CEO of what was known as Warner Amex Cable TV.
Oh, yeah, the creators of MTV.
Yes, that's right. And the successor, or the original company that became Time Warner.
Right.
So we thought, so Drew was doing that, and he asked me to be his chief of staff there in Rockefeller Center, but also in his role as co-chair of the Reagan-Bush re-election campaign. So I'm zipping back and forth between New York and Washington all the time and doing this. So we're in New York, and all of a sudden, my office is right next to his. Jeffer, come in here. And I race into his office. He's got the television on, and there is President Reagan, flanked by Jim Baker and Don Regan, to announce that they are switching jobs.
Right.
And that Don Regan would become chief of staff.
He was in Treasury. He was Treasury Secretary, right, at the time?
Secretary.
That's what I thought.
And the problem, as nice as Don Regan could be, and he could be very abrupt and all this kind of thing, he had been the chairman of Merrill Lynch. In other words, he had no political experience.
Right.
And this was a problem, as it eventually turned out to be. He didn't work out as chief of staff, and he got these fights with Nancy Reagan.
Oh no, that's true.
He hung up on her, and wow, that was not good. But it was an amazing time. So Drew said to me, "Well, I'm not going to the White House. Do you want to go? Or you could work at MTV." And I said, "No, I'll go to the White House."
I can't see you with Nina Blackwood at MTV, Jeffrey.
Well, you would have loved this. I went to, when I was still there, MTV had their first big gala party.
Yeah.
And it was at this fancy restaurant in Manhattan and all that. And I had a limousine ride over, and
Whoa!
And
Wow.
I walk in, and who do I see right off the bat? Cher. And
You didn't walk up to her and start singing "Half Breed."
And I was so agog. I mean, I'm practically saying it out loud. My God, that's Cher. And then,
oh my gosh.
Eddie Murphy was there, and a lot of movie stars and rock singers. I mean, I was just agog and all this, but it was enough for me to say, yeah, this is not your world. You need to get back into the political world. So,
Jeffrey, sadly, I wish we could talk forever on this. We're out of time, though. Dennis Quaid, how was his portrayal of Reagan, in your opinion?
Fabulous. And I got to say, if you're an actor, it's one thing if you are creating a fictional role, a character that doesn't exist. It's a whole nother thing if you are portraying somebody who was quite vividly real, because
and very well known, and very well known.
I mean, it could be Ronald Reagan in this case, or a while back there was an Elvis Presley movie. If you're portraying somebody like that, you've got a really hard job on your hands, because everybody in the world knows who they are, how they sound like, how they move. He did a superb job. I thought Dennis was just great.
Wow.
I don't know him, but wow, what a great job he did.
Final question from one of our producers, Robert in Felton, Delaware, says, Jeffrey, are there any positions in the Trump administration that you'd be interested in? I think Jake would make a good spokesperson. What say you? Jeffrey, are you heading back to the White House, the political office?
Yeah, my ambition in the Trump administration is to get under the bed and stay there.
Not the Lincoln bed.
No.
Oh.
No. I mean, I figure, having been there and done it, I was 34 at the time. And as I've said, the color of my hair may indicate that I'm no longer 34. And I perhaps will take a pass.
Understood. Jeffrey, thank you so much for coming on and giving us your perspective, your Siskel and Ebert review of the Reagan movie. I know I'll be going to see it at some point, but thank you. And are you going to be on Newsmax this weekend?
Yes, I believe I am scheduled before the Trump rally that's coming up somewhere, either before or after, or if not both.
All right. Well, we'll be watching. Jeffrey, thanks. Have a great weekend, and we will talk with you very, very soon.
Okay, my friend Jake. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. You're listening to... Bye, Jeffrey. Thank you. You're listening to your News Talk America. Salute the troops coming up in just a moment. Please stay with us.
This WGMD weather report is brought to you by Arby's in Millsboro on Route 113 and Arby's in Lewes on Coastal Highway. Arby's, we have the meats.
Here's a look at your Delmarva forecast. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times. Today, daytime highs approaching 79. Winds out of the northeast, 5 to 10 miles per hour. Lows level off around 65 with fog in spots tonight. Cloudy skies expected. Cloudy skies expected with fog in spots early tomorrow. Chance of thunderstorms. Highs level off around 81. I'm meteorologist Paul Trombley from the Talk of Delmarva Weather Center along the coast. Right now, it's 73 degrees.
I'm Toby Schlick from Complete Tree Care. During bad weather conditions, trees fail and cause damage to your home and vehicles. Complete Tree Care specializes in emergency storm work. Let our trained crews remove any trees that have fallen on your home or vehicle without causing any additional damage. It is important to call right away to have our staffed arborists evaluate the situation. Call Complete Tree Care at 302-947-2273.
Fully licensed, insured, and certified, that's Complete Tree Care.
Low taxes, small government, property rights, agriculture, small towns. These are some of the things that Sussex County Councilwoman Cindy Green has worked to maintain over the last 4 years. Cindy Green will never vote for higher taxes or bigger government. Cindy Green will always work to protect property rights and agriculture. Cindy Green will work to help small towns. On September 10th, vote for Cindy Green in the Republican primary.
Paid for by Friends to Elect Cindy Green.
Crime is happening, and Crime Stoppers wants to hear about it. If you see something, say something. Delaware Crime Stoppers is Delaware's only anonymous reporting program. We work as an intermediary between citizens with information and the police agencies investigating the crimes. Our mission is to help citizens remain anonymous while providing valuable information and intelligence to help solve crimes. Call 1-800-TIP-3333. If you see something, say something. Delaware Crime Stoppers.
Dominique is from Salisbury, Maryland, and is the current Miss Wheelchair Maryland 2024, but she wants to go on to vie for the Miss Wheelchair America. She serves on many committees and boards that serve the disability community, both locally and statewide. Now she needs your help in her quest to become Miss Wheelchair America and also win the People's Choice Award. You'll find more information at the community calendar under the Extras tab at thetalkofdelmarva.com.
It takes little effort to extend kindness. September is National Courtesy Month, an entire month to practice being kind. But courtesy can mean different things to different people. To some, being courteous means being helpful. To others, it's being polite and having good manners. Courtesy can be words spoken or actions towards someone. It's about manners and respect. When people are considerate to one another, a positive effect happens. Moods improve and smiles are easily found. For more, go to the Community Outreach under the Extras tab at thetalkofdelmarva.com.
Give us your weekday mornings 5 to 9, and you're guaranteed to get Delmarva and the country. National Fox News, local WGMD news and sports, traffic and weather, and your daily download, along with newsmakers across the peninsula that affect your everyday. Mike Bradley and the WGMD Morning Team with the most information to get your morning started here on Delmarva's News, Talk, and Sports Station, 92.7 WGMD.
Salute the Troops is safely brought to you by your local gun tender, Stuart Jones at Delmarva Law Enforcement Supply.
Salute the Troops remembers with honor United States Air Force Staff Sergeant Alexandria May Morrow from Danville, New York, who was killed March 22nd, 2017, while performing maintenance duties in support of combat operations in Jordan during Operation Iraqi Freedom. Morrow was assigned to the 366th Aircraft Maintenance Squadron, Mountain Home Air Force Base, but she worked for the 322nd Air Expeditionary Wing overseas, according to a spokesman at Mountain Home Air Force Base. Staff Sergeant Morrow was a weapons loader. According to a report from a local television station, the airman's mother indicated that, quote, something broke, causing a bomb to slip off the plane and hit Morrow in the head. Unquote. Staff Sergeant Morrow is survived by a husband and 2 daughters. Those who knew her valued her love of life and art, her leadership, her skills, and her passion, said Colonel Jefferson O'Donnell, commander of the 366th Fighter Wing. The colonel said, and I quote, her actions and contributions as a weapons loader just in 5 months overseas, let alone 7 years as a gunfighter, have set records for weapons employment in combat. We will dutifully continue to perform the mission while we mourn her loss. Unquote. Salute the Troops honors the ultimate sacrifice of Staff Sergeant Alexandria May Morrow while supporting Operation Iraqi Freedom. For without Staff Sergeant Morrow's commitment to serve, defending freedom wherever it is threatened, this nation could not, this nation would never have remained free. May this grateful nation never forget Staff Sergeant Alexandria May Morrow. Fly, fight, win. For Salute the Troops, I'm Jake Smith.
Delmarva Law Enforcement Supply welcomes all, not just law enforcement. Visit and sit with Stuart to find the perfect custom firearm, ammo, apparel, gun safes, hunting gear, accessories, or to browse and find the perfect WeatherTech gear. Serving and saluting Delmarva for almost 2 decades. You can find them on Iron Branch Road in Dagsboro. Open Monday through Saturday. Just look for the banner that says Guns. Support your local gun tender today.
Broadcasting from the Meineke Car Care Center studio. It's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
Salute the Troops remembers with honor.
As we wrap up this edition of our Digital Interactive Friday, my friends, thank you so much. All our producers, Bob and Lewes, Colonel Williams, Wolf. I believe we had John in Delmar, Bob in Felton, Delaware. Thank you so much. You added so much to this broadcast today, and I very much appreciate you spending the time. And you are the producers for this program.
The talk of Delmarva is 92.7 WGMD Rehoboth Beach and 98.5 WUSX Seaford.